If you want to rock your baby to sleep, then you might need this. What's happening, Panda Nation? Peter Von Panda here. I have this little rocker here. I think it's called a MamaRoo, and I want to show it to you because it's actually really useful, but it could be really, really dangerous. In fact, what I want to show you here is this thing because I've been using it, but I believe it was actually subject to a recall recently because a couple of babies, I think, perished using it. So I will show you what I think is the problem with it. And the recall doesn't have you send it back to them. They actually send you a piece to fix it. So let me give you a quick tour of the MamaRoo first. All right, here it is. Now, I've actually put this together already. I've been using it for a while here. You can see it's got this big, wide plastic base here. It's actually pretty heavy. This is not something that you would just want to move from room to room on a whim. Obviously, it has a power cable right there, and it's plugged into the wall because this thing is actually powered. Now, one of the things that I want to note here is that when you get this, these pieces come disassembled. Obviously, this whole base here is put together, but this bar is something that you have to install. You kind of slide it in, and then these two bars right here attach to the sides, and you can see we have this little zipper track right there. And so then you take this little hammock piece and you zip it in, and then this bar on the top just kind of goes in there, and what you have here is kind of this hanging mobile. Now, I've dropped one of these little pillows out here, but there are 3 little pillows that go in there and they spin around. This is actually really nice. I will say a couple things. One, it seems to hang very low, and little Mr. Bear will substitute in there. This actually hangs really low, which is kind of fun because the baby tends to play with it and swat at it and spin it around, as opposed to a mobile that's really high and kind of out of the way and just there for entertainment. But Mr. Bear will stay in there. And then you have actually this, fairly nice fabric fleece piece in there. We also have some straps in here to strap in your baby, kind of this waist strap, and then this crotch strap here so that you could bring it up, hold the baby into position, and then these snap into the sides right there, okay? So it's kind of just like a little backpack, so you don't have to worry about that baby falling out. I have put in this additional pad here. My baby doesn't fall out, so it just kind of sits in there. But you can have that, and you can see how these zippers all work here. Now, I think the most important thing to this is this little control panel down here. Now, you also have a volume and a music rocker right up there, so kind of sliding volume controls. But right down here, this is where the business happens to keep your baby entertained without having you put in a lot of muscle. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn it on here. You can see this LCD panel lights up here, and what we get here are a bunch of different selections. So if I go ahead and select, okay, I think this side is like the intensity of it. So I'll just put that in the middle, and then this side will allow me to pick which one I want. You can see the little graphic there. Car ride is kind of this back and forth, up and down, kangaroo, bouncy, bouncy. Tree swing is probably the one I use the most. Let me just show you that. It's basically like it's hanging from a tree, and then you just go ahead and hit play, and what ends up happening is now it will just go back and forth. This one I kind of like the most. It's not a perfect parabola or semicircle or anything. It's kind of a little bit of its own movement, as you can see there, but it works pretty good. Now, if I go here and I select the rockabye and then hit play, that'll go to that one. And now we have the inverted. So it's kind of going like this, kind of like a rocking crib, all right? And then we can go over here to ocean wave, hit play, and it's just gonna keep going around like this. So you get a lot of different motions, which is cool. I'm gonna go up here to car ride. You're probably interested in that one. Car rides are very therapeutic, entrancing, hypnotic for kids, and you can kind of see it's doing a figure 8 type of thing. You can hear the motor going on under there. It's not super loud. It kind of has like a kind of a dull rumble, like kind of a grind. So it's not that loud. I've never had a problem where the baby can't sleep because of that noise, but this is just really nice because it moves around and rocks them to sleep, gives them a little entertainment, and it prevents you from having to get into a recliner or to stand up and rock them and move them around, right? All right, so what I want to show you here too is the intensity. We can change that. You can see it's actually moving pretty good there. Might be a little too much for many kids, but if we go down here, you can see I find somewhere in the middle tends to be the right thing. Now, you can also go up to these rockers here and play music if you want to. So we got some rain sounds. white noise, little car noise, raindrops, little forest action. So you get all these different sounds, and then I can turn that down. I've never really used that, but it could certainly be nice. A lot of people swear by white noise. All right, I want to turn this off here. You just hit that and that goes off. And I want to show you what I think is the problem here and the issue that caused the recall. Understand, I'm not a child or product safety expert. I'm not an attorney, so take this with a grain of salt and definitely figure this out for yourself. But you can see the strap that goes in and holds the baby in place up here, goes through the back here, and then connects to this bar right here. Now, the problem, as I understand it, is when this has a lot of slack, if you have a baby crawling around underneath here, so it's on the floor, obviously, and a baby crawls around and they get stuck in the slack here, this is the problem. And so you want to make sure that this is, one, nice and tight, if you are going to have it there. But if you reach out to MamaRoo for somehow they have an additional piece that keeps this tight. I think the issue is when this hangs really loose and a baby is crawling and they get their head stuck in there and they put their body weight on it, something like that. So you want to make sure that that is tight, it's out of the way, and I don't know if it clips in there or something like that, but I have not yet done the recall piece or retrofit piece, but I also don't have a crawling baby yet. So if you do have a baby that is mobile on the floor, you definitely want to get that checked out. Again, I'm not exactly sure what the fix is, but I think that's the problem. However, if you have a baby that is not mobile and just wants to be rocked to sleep, wants to be entertained a little bit, I have found this thing to be super, super useful, and it's actually a really great little device. Doesn't take up a lot of space. I have this little rocking crib here, but you can see how much space this takes up. I mean, honestly, 4 times the amount of square footage is required to have this little rocker, and it doesn't have as many features as this. So I understand why the MamaRoo is so popular, and in terms of all this tech in it, it's not that expensive. I think it's a couple $100, so it could be the perfect companion for your nursery. It doesn't take up a lot of space and does a lot of work. If you want to pick up the 4moms rocker, I'll put a link to this guy in the description below. Peter Von Panda, out.
We can discover more and explore so much deeper. We can live better than ever, thanks to Peter Von Panda.